Hello, and welcome back to Mission Impressionable, where I take a game I've never played before and review it based on the first impression it gives. Today we'll be playing Fading, a minimalist platformer that was released on the tail end of last December. Weirdly, this might end up being one of the harder scripts I have to write. Full disclosure, I did receive this game for free via my Steam curator page, but this is in no way a sponsored video. I was merely sent the game with a sort of, hey, check out my game, hope you enjoy it message with no obligation to actually review it. I probably wouldn't have found the game had the creator not sent it to me, and I'd like to say thank you for the chance to look at something that I would otherwise have skipped over. So, let's start with the gameplay, as that will likely be the easiest part to talk about. The game is very simple platformer. I played with the controller, so it was move with joystick, jump with A, and that's it. The levels were about what you would expect from this type of game. Very straightforward obstacle courses with spikes all over the place that put you back at your last checkpoint. The hitbox of the spikes in some areas seemed a tad unforgiving, but I think that's partially a level design issue more than anything else. The game is by no means hard, but some of the levels seem to require these pixel perfect positioning and timing, which just gets frustrating due to the kind of unresponsive controls. It seems like often I would hit jump just to have the input completely ignored and me to slide forward off the edge of a platform and have to start the section over again. On top of that, you have very little control over your jump as it is. Your jump is always the same height no matter how you press the button, and while that does have its uses and you can design puzzles around the fact that the player can't jump without hitting the ceiling, it doesn't help with some of the previously mentioned levels that seem to require the perfect timing. Overall, from a gameplay perspective though, the game isn't really bad, it's just nothing special. A subpar minimalist platformer with okay-ish level design and a very wonky difficulty curve with stages that require very tight, precise platforming, followed almost immediately by stages that feel like they should still be in the tutorial stages of the game. You could easily finish the game in one short sitting, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I still need to talk about the story. And this is the part that's hard to talk about because I really wanted to enjoy this game based on the story. To quote what was put in the message that was sent to my curator page, Fading is a minimalist 2D platformer where you play through the troubled mind of a man whose wife is dying of a terminal illness as you uncover a story of love, pain, and loss. Between every stage, you are given little segments of the story, it being fed to you one line at a time. Simple story of boy meets girl, boy marries girl, girl gets cancer, and that's why it's hard to talk about the story because it's a subject matter that I know can be very personal, and I don't want to criticize it because of that. I don't know the developer's history, so I can't say if the story is one of honest contemplation, or if they were just trying to make the game feel deep by attaching such a devastating subject matter to it. If it's the former, I appreciate the effort, the love and thought and care put into crafting the game, because even if it's simple and a little rough around the edges, the intent is pure. Sadly, the gameplay doesn't really reinforce the story any, doesn't help give it meaning. The gameplay is too generic and simple, and it doesn't really do anything interesting with the level design to make you feel like you're part of the story, in my opinion. I think it could have, too, very easily, with something simple as palette changes. The story makes mention of how both the man and the woman in the story are, artists of some degree, and I feel there could be a lot of color and interesting level shapes for the first few levels to reinforce the idea of joy of the two, creators. The beginning parts of the game could have been non-lethal stages with interesting patterns and rhythms of movement through the level. Then as the story takes a somber turn, color could start disappearing and hazards could start being added slowly, leaving the most difficult spike-filled gray stages for the parts of the story that are the most devastating. I'm no expert, but that's how I would have done it, just so the stages and gameplay feel more connected to the story. That way it would feel more sincere. As I said, I don't know the developer's history, so it's hard to criticize the story without feeling callous. At the same time, though, I feel I have to put forward the criticism in order to be honest with both myself and my viewers. The story feels like it was just tacked on to pull at your heartstrings, like the dev was just making a simple platformer and felt it needed something to try and make it stand out. But as it is, the gameplay doesn't feel like it connects to the story, and I think the whole experience suffers because of it. Maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe I've just seen too many games that feel like they're trying too hard to force meaning, or maybe I feel other games I've played manage to have a deep story that connects with the gameplay better. It's hard to say. I think, in the end, I want to believe the creator of this game was sincere and was finding their own way to cope with this kind of loss. I myself have many very close people to me who have either fought or are currently fighting cancer, and I think that's why this is a hard game for me to criticize, because I really do want to like it and really do feel like at least the writing of the story had sincerity behind it, even if the gameplay feels disconnected and extra. Like I said earlier, the game is short. You can probably beat it in a single setting. Personally, I stopped near the end just because I was more frustrated with the imprecise controls than I was invested in the story. I wanted to know how it ended, but I was tired of the levels that felt like they were there just to get in the way of me enjoying the story. I can't say if I really recommend the game or not. On one hand, it's not really a very good game, but on the other hand, I appreciate what it was trying to do and the story it was trying to tell. If it looks interesting to you, check it out. It's only $4. At the very least, the game's soundtrack is nice and mellow and relaxing, and I think the story and music might be worth the price of entry in and of themselves. Until next time, this has been Zanshlou Gaming, and I'll see you all in the next video.